Hello, Internet. I am Corione, your witch in residence here on YouTube. And so recently, I got a chance to rewatch The Last Samurai. Now, say what you want about Tom Cruise and the hilarious historical inaccuracies of this movie. There was something I noticed that I think needs a little bit more appreciation. Now, before I get into that too deep, I just want to talk about today's channel sponsor, me. Um, I love the membership program we've built here. My members seem to really enjoy it too, and I hope you would as well. Members get access to the back issues of Transmission from the Rogue Council. They get exclusive videos on our Exploring Religion series. They get cool perks for being part of the channel. And the top tier, the elite of the elite, actually get spiritual sessions with me where they can ask any questions they want. Please consider it. It's worth doing it. Now, with that obligatory ritual out of the way, let's discuss The Last Samurai. Now, we could talk a lot about things in this movie, from introducing others to your culture to how to deal with outsiders to the traditionalism and the mysticism and the mystery that the West seems to have with the samurai. But what I actually wanted to talk about was the civil war that plays out in the movie between the two sides of the Japanese army, the samurai and the modern Japanese army. And ultimately, what it comes down to is both of them are viewing different ways to serve the emperor. Both of them consider themselves loyal to the emperor, but they have this massive difference of opinion when it comes to modernization versus the traditional ways of doing things, and that they shouldn't give up their identity to modernize. And truth be told, there's a lot of interesting discussion that can happen with that. In Europe, what wound up happening is the noble families embraced more of the heir style thing or traditional cavalry. But in Japan, they really got stuck between a rock and a hard place between the faction that wanted to become a modern part of the Western world and the faction that found their own uniqueness to be more important. You could say that they were xenophobic, but I would disagree. I would say that they valued their traditions so much that they felt it would be inappropriate to change them, but instead to build towards a more modern version of them, while still keeping their classical Bushido code and what have you alive. So it's interesting to me that both sides felt they were being loyal. Both sides of the argument felt they were respecting the emperor, but had to fight it out to make their point. This is an important concept to grasp, because whenever you're arguing with somebody, they don't think they're in the wrong. You may think they're in the wrong, but they don't believe it. They believe they are being loyal. They believe that they are being forthright. They do not see themselves as the villain of this story. This is a hard concept for other people to grasp, okay? It's almost as if, regardless of whatever side of a conflict people are on, they view themselves on the right side of history. But the truth is, history is very nuanced. History is alight with conflicts and issues where both sides felt that they were in the right, that their cause was righteous. Now, I have made it a habit of mine to right those who are righteous, to fool those who are fools, and to see myself as the irritant that helps produce the pearl. So, allow me, if you will, to jump in here. I think that while their hearts were in the right place, neither side was truly correct. The cultural distinctiveness that is Japan is just as important and vital as having a modern professional military to defend oneself with. So the question becomes, how do you balance it? And that's a matter of negotiation, and that's a matter of discussion and debate, because really, at the end of the day, that's how we grow, that's how we learn. And I think we can take this away a lot from modern conflicts. I'm sure we could point to two specific conflicts going on right now in the world where one side absolutely believes in the righteousness of their cause, and the other side absolutely believes in the righteousness of defending themselves. And I am personally a fan of the defenders, but it's important to remember that the aggressors in this do not see themselves as the bad guys. Far from it. They see themselves as the heroes going in to fix major problems. So how do you negotiate with somebody like that? How do you convince them to sit down across the table? I think the only way to realistically do it is to acknowledge that while they may feel they are right, you disagree with their opinion and would like to discuss it. And then have that discussion. And I think if cooler heads prevail in the conflicts of the world, we will hopefully get an opportunity to see that. I personally think that we have many, many, many movies about taking violent action to resolve conflict. We have very few that sit us down at the negotiation table and listen as two sides hammer out an agreed settlement solution or solution to a problem. And I think we need more movies like that, right? I think we need more movies that discuss, this is a tense situation, that the pressure that these negotiators would feel on themselves to come up with a solution before either side goes directly to conflict. That's got to be absolutely brutal. And I think that's worth keeping in mind. But I am curious about your guys' thoughts. I'm curious what you guys think of situations like that, okay? When both sides think they're right, who is the right one, right? History will always be the ultimate judge of that, right? There are times where we've had conflicts that the quote-unquote victors felt that they were righteous, and now modern day we look at it differently, right? Personally, in my opinion, I know this is going to be very controversial, and YouTube may have it out for me with this one, but I really don't think Agamemnon was in the right when he went and assaulted Troy. I think she should have just let Helen live there in peace. But that's my opinion, okay? And I won't speak for any fantastic individuals that are out there that feel otherwise, that they were right and righteous for going to Troy and sieging it and eventually sacking it. But I leave it up to you guys. Myself, I personally think that, that they should have left well enough alone. And if people were thinking Helen's face would not have been the one to launch 1,000 ships. But there's my hot take, people. And I look forward to your anger in the comments that I can read and debate with you about it. But in the meantime, consider what I've said. Consider the challenge and difficulty that comes with making peace. Look, going to battle against somebody may occasionally be the only solution left. But I think we focus too much on going to battle and solving our problems through force of arms, instead of sitting down across a negotiation table and solving things with our words and with our deeds. I think so many conflicts these days could be solved by that. By putting our egos and our honor aside and focusing on the ultimate objective preserving as many lives as we can. Not just our lives, not just American lives, not just Canadian lives, not just any group's lives, but all lives. Because all lives are precious. All lives are sacred. Sometimes lives have to end in the service of a greater good. I'm not denying that. But I'm saying that that solution needs to be taken only as an absolute last resort. That we should be focusing more on the resolution of problems without getting to that point. And if our leaders fail at attempting that, we need to hold them accountable together as a group. Part of the problem was the emperor couldn't make a decision in The Last Samurai. The emperor couldn't make a decision. And so two camps rose that came to blows because they couldn't decide which one was being more loyal to the goals of the emperor. We can't allow that to happen in modern day. We have no emperors. We have no divinely ruling kings. We chart our own path. And thus, we must chart it well for all people. Not just our own. Not just, the people that we know, the people that we think like us. We need to chart it right for everyone. Because the consequences of not doing so are so dire and so terrible that they should only be taken as an absolute last resort. And always with the goal of preserving as many lives as we possibly can and mitigating as much damage as we possibly can. Now, it's not always possible to mitigate all damage. It's not always possible to save everyone, and that's understandable. But if we don't at least try to do so through negotiation, if we don't try to, as our parents would say, use our words, not our hands, then we failed those who've put us into power. The greatest truth about service to a state or being in charge is that you are in fact a servant to the people that put you there. And you serve them best by preserving and growing what they need to survive. So when we think about those in power and we think about their willingness to discuss and negotiate, ask yourself, is the leader I'm going to put into power going to solve their problems through conflict, or are they going to solve their problems through negotiation in such a fashion that you are sure that they are going to be of aid to those around the globe and not cause more strife, not cause more pain? Now, I know that's a little more fire and brimstone than I usually get, and I hope you guys do appreciate that I bring this up because the modern world is in an interesting place. And I think by reviewing our pop culture, specifically our classic pop culture and what it warned about conflict, we can learn a lot of important lessons for our future. Thank you very much, guys. Merry meet, merry part, merry meet again. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.